Good evening and welcome to the September 27th, 2021 Planning Board meeting. If we could please first start with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'm asked to just remind everybody we have no meeting on 10/4, and we have a meeting on, the next meeting's on 10/18. I've been asked also, if you are in this room, if you could keep your masks on. If you do want to have a conversation, we ask that you please go outside, just not to disturb the meeting. Thank you. Okay, first we have correspondence. Anything in there we want to discuss? Okay, then next we have Nancy's meeting minutes from September 13th, 2021. Anybody see any issues or corrections?
No.
Okay, then do I have the motion to approve the meeting minutes of September 13th, 2021?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're going to open the meeting. First on the agenda is EnviroGreen Associates. This is a decision statement. Location is East Main Street, Mohegan Lake.
Hello, everybody.
How are you?
Joseph Reen, the Principal Site Design Consultants. I reviewed the resolution. I have no issues with any of the conditions in the resolution.
Anything on your end, John?
Nothing at this time, no.
Jim?
Nothing from me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Anything from the board?
Nope.
Nothing?
Nope.
Okay, so first we have, do I have a motion to intend to be the lead agency?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We also had a negative declaration in front of us. Any comments?
Nope.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Is there, all those in favor?
Aye.
And then lastly, we have a resolution approving the site plan, stormwater pollution prevention plan, and wetland permit for EnviroGreen Associates. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was a long time coming.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it was.
My God.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Aye.
night.
That's it? You're done?
That's it. I'm done.
Oh, my God.
Let's see.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have Northern Westchester Executive Park. This is for a public hearing. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Very good. Yourself?
Good, thank you.
Hello. Joe Tremelli, Principal with Keller Sessions Consulting. We are the engineers representing GHP Strang, LLC, and the property known as 2649, 2651 Strang Boulevard, or the Northern Westchester Executive Park. We're before you tonight for an amended site plan approval for a parking lot expansion to the existing facilities. As you know, the property is on the intersection of Route 202, Strang Boulevard, and the Taconic Parkway. It's about 24 acres in size. It's bisected by Strang Boulevard. Let's see. I don't know why this isn't switching over. Excuse me one second. This never seems to like me. Sorry. So the property is bisected by Strang Boulevard. It's about 18 acres, 18.6 acres to the west, which is the developed portion of the property with 2 office buildings and about 690 2 parking spaces. The parcel to the east side of Strang is about 5 acres in size, currently undeveloped. We're obviously looking to make our improvements to the existing parking facility. It's at the far north end of the site. You can see there on the plan, the larger of the 2 buildings is currently office use. This is in the OB zoning district. The majority of the parking, as you can see, is on the southern side of the property. So at the northwestern corner of that larger building, there is a lower level, a partial lower level that makes access to it difficult. Anyone using the parking facilities has somewhat of a sizable walk to get to that space. So we are proposing a lower level parking area. It's 25 spaces in total, 23 standard, 2 of which are ADA accessible. And we would access it off of the existing parking lot at the upper parking lot. There's about 12 to 14 feet in grade differential from the upper parking lot to the lot we're proposing. It's about a full story. So you would enter, as they normally do, into that northern parking extension, and then we're proposing a driveway access down to the lower parking lot to those spaces. Important to note that we're not increasing the size of the building. We're not changing any uses that would necessitate the additional parking. It's merely a request for some convenience and marketability for the space. They're having a hard time leasing that lower level, primarily due to access. In addition to the parking, we're proposing ADA pedestrian access ramps at both the upper entrance, the existing upper entrance, and one as well for the lower parking lot. So improvements in that regard as well. We've been before your board a couple of times now. There was some, during the informational hearing, some comment from the public. The neighbor to the immediate north, you could just see the house there in the upper left corner of the page there. I believe that was their residence. They had some concerns with regards to screening of the existing property, existing building. We've since met with Mr. Tegeter at the site, reviewed the existing conditions of the vegetation, and in addition to the originally proposed screening, evergreen screening along the driveway access, we've extended that further east along the property line, supplemented that with additional green giants, Colorado spruce, and cryptomeria. So a mix of evergreen screening to supplement what's already there. We're still proposing to remove some of the invasives. There's some vine growth on the existing trees, most of which are deciduous. So remove that, supplement that area with evergreen screening. We have prepared a stormwater pollution prevention plan. We haven't received comment from your engineer yet, but we've designed it in accordance with your town code as well as with the New York State standards. We are under an acre, but we are greater than 5,000 square feet of disturbance, so we will need to file a notice of intent with the state for a general permit. We're prepared to do that as well. Another item we discussed at our last meeting, as you know, there's some ongoing activity and construction at the property. They're doing some demolition and retrofit of the interior space and removal of some existing underground storage tanks, all permitted by the town. But the question came up as to there was a temporary access road constructed as part of those permits to access the lower level. We had done cut and fill calculations on the construction of the temporary access road, and we have about 35 yards of net material that was brought in to construct that road. And then for the overall project, we're projecting a net of 2,000 yards of fill. As you can see from the plan, there are a number of tiered retaining walls. The original plan, if you remember, at the upper right corner of the lower parking lot, we had a single wall, retaining wall, that reached heights of approximately 8 feet. We've since redesigned the plan, and we're proposing a series of tiered walls about 3 feet in height, just to minimize that impact, work with the slopes a little bit better, proposing some vegetation in between the tiers to soften the look of the wall. And then there's a couple of smaller boulder walls at the lower left corner of the parking lot, again, 3 to 4 feet in height. And then, of course, as was always the case, the retaining wall along the northern side of the driveway access. And that gets to be about 6 to 7 feet in height at its highest point. We did make one change since we last met I believe we discussed it at the informational hearing. There is a prospective tenant for the space, but he had requested 2 loading docks. So we've modified the plan slightly to add that second space. You can see it there on the plan. And all we had to do was shift those 3 spaces in the bottom right corner slightly to the west to accommodate that. And all that, although slight, that increase in impervious surface, we're collecting that, and the SWIP's been modified to mitigate that increase as well. I think that's all I have, unless there's any questions from the board or the public.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yep.
Anybody from the public have any comments, concerns about the application?
Yeah, we have one.
Someone in the back?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think he was blocking that.
oh, you can't. How are you?
Hi, good evening.
How's
Gloria
everything?
Frank Malagrano, 2689 Strang Boulevard.
We're here at the
We're-
first meeting.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
so we're the neighbors of the
Yep.
building. I'm glad to hear that they're gonna put, additional screening. A new concern that I'm just hearing tonight is a loading dock. I mean, if there's a loading dock, does that mean there's gonna be, large trucks, that we're gonna be hearing? We hear that, we're right next door if you went to the site. My concern, in addition to, is, cars coming up and down that. So there's the parking lot now, the parking lots are underutilized, what's there now. The one lot is very large on the southern side. There is an access from that parking lot, across the back of the building, a paved walkway. There's a lot on, the side by our home, and that's underutilized as well. It's rarely filled. So, to have an access road that's gonna go down to a lower lot, so now there's gonna be cars. When there was just a lot, somebody comes in, they park, you don't really hear that, but now there's gonna be a flow of traffic up and down that access road. I'm sure if you did a site visit, you could see that, we could see from the back of our house, some of that vegetation is already as vines and stuff like that, and we can see through that. My concern now is I'm gonna see cars, I'm gonna hear cars, are there gonna be trucks, if there's gonna be loading docks, where there is parking, and the concern we expressed before is that, don't add spaces just because people don't want to walk, that's not a reason to add construction and to add traffic, into a residential area. Those were some of my concerns, and now the added concern, if there's a loading dock as well. Out of my back, I don't want to see cars coming up and down that, that access road, when I feel that there's ample parking already. And there is a walkway that runs along the back as well of the building. If they were to park on the side where there's 700 spots, half of, which aren't used, and on the northern side, it's a smaller lot, but that's not full ever either. I don't know if my husband wants to add anything to comments.
Yeah, no, I'm good. That's good.
You're good? I did a good job, I guess. So
Thank
thank you
you
very
very
much
much
for
for your
taking into
comments.
consideration our thoughts.
Thank you. Anybody else from the audience? Come on up. What's up, John?
How are you doing?
How are you?
John Flynn, 5-2 Woodsbrook Lane, Yorktown. Let's see, I just wanted to say a couple things ask a couple questions. One, what is the area of impervious surface that you're going to add with this parking extension? Number two, has the larger parking lot, since it was built probably before 1985, has that ever been upgraded to treat groundwater runoff as well as manage the amount of groundwater runoff? And number three, if it hasn't, would the applicant be willing since this parking lot is vastly underutilized, would the applicant be willing to take an equal amount of pervious surface out in another part of the parking lot? I'm up there all the time, It's a good place to walk dogs because there's so few cars parked there. And so a lot of times I go up there and it's consistently empty. It must have been built at that scale for the college that was there at one time. And now it's vast amounts of parking space are not used. And so it seems to me that even if they just scraped, again, this is assuming that it hasn't been upgraded to better treat surface water runoff. But it seems that if they just scraped away the pervious surface down to where, the impervious surface down to where there's drainage, that would help an awful lot in terms of controlling groundwater and maybe helping the groundwater not be as contaminated. That's pretty much, I guess I would recommend the board to think about that and the applicant as well. No opposition to shifting the parking lot over to another place. It seems that you've done pretty good work on keeping a buffer there, but I'm just concerned about the environmental impacts of adding more pervious surface to a parking lot that's, after all, in the watershed for the Croton Reservoir. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
John.
you.
Anybody else from the audience? No one? So a few questions came up.
Sure. I guess I'll start with for clarification, the loading dock that we're referring to. It is a dock. There is an elevated platform for access into the building, but just simply due to the sheer size and the access limitations to that area, it couldn't accommodate anything larger than your typical FedEx truck. In reality, the tenant that is interested in the space currently has a small box truck similar to a little six-wheel truck, as well as a van. So the request for the second dock was to accommodate that. The parking, the underutilized parking on the northern end of the site today is currently that way because a large part of that portion of the building is vacant because they can't lease it. We're hoping to change that and use a parking lot that's been constructed and provide additional spaces for some amenity and convenience. The walking distance with regard to that, it is about 600 to 700 feet for someone parking on the southern side of the building to walk through the parking lot, through the building and into the lower level. There is no ADA accessible route for the entire length of the outside of the building. The sidewalk referenced below at the rear of the building is only accessible up to the Mercy College entrance. Beyond that, there are doorways, but they're all staired. So, we're hoping to obviously construct the parking lot, but in doing so, provide ADA accessible entrances at both the upper and lower level of that side of the building, where currently none exist. Screening, as the neighbor mentioned, currently it is all deciduous, or most of it's deciduous. There are vines on there. We are proposing to pull all those off, but vastly supplement that area with a dense row of evergreen screening, so that when in your leaf-off condition in the winter, today, they don't get much of a benefit. But once we're done with construction and the evergreens have established, they'll have a year-round buffer between their property and ours. With regard to stormwater, I can't speak to what's been done in the past, only to assume that whatever they did in the past was done to whatever current regulations were in place. Obviously, whatever we're doing today will meet today's regulations. There's about 6,000 square feet of impervious surface with the new parking area. We're collecting every bit of stormwater runoff from the access drive as well as the lower parking lot, providing water quality and quantity attenuations through the 100-year storm. We tested the soils. We know they're adequate. Your town engineers witnessed that testing. And as I said, we've prepared the SWIP as required. I think that was all the
I
questions.
think so. Thank you.
When you say that groundwater runoff from the access driveway, where's it going to go? Is there a retention?
So we have a series of drain inlets. So if you could see the connection of the proposed driveway to the upper parking lot is the high point. So stormwater runoff in the upper parking lot gets collected in an existing conveyance system and is managed above. anything that lands in the driveway access or down below will be collected in the series of catch basins that you see in blue. And they will be discharged to that, you can see the boxes in the middle of the parking lot. There's a total of, I believe it's 28 Coltech units, infiltrators. So all the stormwater will be collected. We'll discharge to those infiltration units, and we will be infiltrating the majority of the storm events. There is some overflow with the larger storm events, but in comparing peak rates of runoff from pre and post conditions, we meet or reduce peak discharge rates in every storm event.
So I think my one concern was, I think this Fox Meadow has a little spur that comes back there, that none of the water would be routed that direction. Sounds like it's all being pushed
No.
south towards the,
Let's
south
see.
is the right.
So the discharge from the system,
Yep.
any overflow that does occur would be discharged to a level spreader. It's about, I believe it's 20 feet long.
Okay.
To redistribute that flow to sheet flow, it would go, down the hill into the existed wooded area between the property and the Taconic Parkway.
Okay, good.
I have a question. Are there any, in this zone, are there any noise limitations or activity limits in terms of time when deliveries might be expected or limited? I'm not sure.
I'm not aware of anything. The only thing I did see, which we comply with, are the parking setbacks for the actual spaces themselves. And we comply with, in both respects, with pedestrian parking as well as any commercial vehicles. It's 50 feet for pedestrian, or not pedestrian, but standard vehicle parking, and 100 feet for any commercial. I'm not aware of any limitations on noise. You have a noise ordinance, and we would obviously comply with that. It's just a parking lot. As far as hours of operation, I don't know if there's any limits on the existing uses today.
Well, I'm just considering one of the comments that were made about, using the loading docks and driving traffic through there. Certainly during the day, you're going to have customer traffic, and I would expect you can have deliveries at that point, but I don't know if it's reasonable to consider any limitations on deliveries, since this is adjacent to a residential district, whether we could consider something like that, as we have on other applications in the past, just to make sure that there isn't a lot of activity there at, 3 in the morning, say.
I think you can limit the hours of that type of use within reason. And the noise ordinance, I think, is times like 10 and 11 o'clock at night. 11 o'clock during the week, I think it's 10 o'clock, possibly on Sunday. Don't quote me on that, but so you could limit it.
Okay.
Deliveries, for instance, to those
Right.
times.
And I don't want to. I don't think my client would have any objection to that if that were the case.
Okay.
It's a standard, kind of 9 to 5 business. But on the odd chance we need a late delivery, if we could do something along those lines, obviously we'll have to confirm whether it's 10 or 11 or whatever the case may be. But I don't see any problem with that.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Jim?
Nothing else.
John?
No, nothing.
All right. And we do appreciate everybody's comments. I know, in particular, as we heard from the applicant and John Tegeter, after we did get, concerns about the landscaping, I know they've talked about that the invasive vines will be removed, which obviously frees up the trees and everything out there to grow at a more healthy rate. I know John and Joe went out there and looked at the landscaping and it added strategic areas. John, if I could ask that get inspected after it goes in. And if they do proceed forward, obviously we're in the middle of the planting season. I think that would be helpful. For the ADA compliance and access to the back, I got to say I agree with all that. I also think public safety, the access for emergency vehicles to get back there if needed, it is a help. I think that covers the deliveries. I would agree with the comments that we limit them to the, to those limits of the noise
Right.
ordinance. Anybody have anything else?
No.
Okay, do I have a motion then to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, do I have a motion to declare lead agency?
Motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And we have a neg deck in front of us. Any questions, concerns, or comments?
No.
Do I have a motion to accept the neg deck?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we also have a resolution approving a site plan, stormwater pollution prevention plan, and tree permit for the Northern Westchester Executive Park. Have you had a chance to review this?
We have no issues with it.
Okay. Jim, do we have to add in there the regulation about, or the stipulation about the deliveries?
In the neg deck, no.
Oh, in this resolution?
In the
Resolution,
resolution, yeah.
Okay, so we'll add that. Any issues with that?
You may want to add the submission on the plans of a landscape maintenance schedule
Okay.
that we can work out the details of.
All right, so we'll add that as noted. Okay, so with the comments as noted, do we have a motion to approve the resolution approving site plan, stormwater pollution prevention plan, and tree permit for the Northern Westchester Executive Park?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We
Thank you
appreciate
very
you
much,
working
everyone.
with us, and I think we're going to be very sensitive to, obviously, the concerns of the neighbors and that view shed.
Absolutely.
And I think the evergreens will help any noise and anything else going on out there.
Yep, definitely.
Thank you for
Pleasure
working with
working
the
with you.
professional staff.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda, we have the Arcadia Farm Solar Farm. This is for a public hearing. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Yeah, alphabetical order.
Anybody here?
I was waiting for you all to say aye. Good evening, everyone.
How are
Good
you?
evening.
I know you're familiar with myself, Julia Magliosa, representing EcoG. I'm joined this evening by my colleague, Brock Givian, as well as a few other members of our team. I'm sure they will speak in due turn to address some comments if we receive any. But just to sort of recap where we stand on the Arcadia Solar Farm project, we are looking at a 993 kilowatt DC, 800 kilowatt AC project. We are looking at disturbing approximately 1.5 acres. That includes the area of tree removal and the area needed to install each of the modules on racks in the ground. The total array area will occupy about 6 acres. I did want to make a note, the total acreage of the farm is approximately 28 acres. The parcel in question where the solar will be installed is 11.67 acres, and of those just over 11 acres, we will be occupying only 6. The remaining acres will remain for the farm to use, however they currently do, whether that be for horse riding or just open space. I won't go over the history or background on the project again unless any questions about that come up. I did just want to provide some updates since the last time we were in front of the board. So did want to just reiterate, we will be removing a total of 87 trees for the project. That would be the most number of trees that would need to be removed. Of those, 28 are considered non-viable, so they would require removal regardless of the solar project. They're deteriorated, dying, or infested in some way, so that's 28 of the 87. And again, that's 87 trees total. We did have a little bit of back and forth with the Conservation Board and the Tree Commission. They provided some comments to us about the number of trees as well as the type of trees that we selected. So we did work with them closely to change our landscaping plan to use only native plantings. So in our current landscaping plan, we will be planting 20 trees and 53 shrubs. Now, given that we are removing 87 trees, we are replacing them with natives, but we do recognize that there's still a gap there. So we did want to offer providing $100 per removed tree for the town's tree fund. We did see that per the code for the tree bank fund, it's recommended $100 for every protected tree removed. So we would like to offer that $8,700 to the tree fund to cover those 87 trees. So I believe those are all of the updates since the last time we were in front of the board. But I do know it being a public hearing. If there are any comments, happy to address those as they come up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, concerns from the public? Hello, Susan.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. Susan Siegel. Okay. Let me just start out by saying, number one, I support solar energy, and number two, I am not speaking in opposition to this plan. But I do have some questions and concerns. Robin, thank you very much for uploading the meeting packet, which is invaluable for people who want to be able to speak at public hearings and need to know what other advisory boards and outside agencies have commented on this, which normally you receive, but the public hadn't received. So thank you, Robin, for doing it, and thank you for the board for putting this online. And I encourage everyone to go to the agenda site where they can see all of the background papers. Both the county planning department and the New York City DEP, because this is in the watershed, have raised several issues dealing with trees, and thank you for the mitigation policy, and thank you for recognizing that you have to do more than just replanting a few trees and shrubs. So I would support the $100 per removed tree for mitigation. But I think you need to put more attention into additional aspects of this plan, as indicated by the DEP and the county memo. As you did with most of your cases, after you've finished the public hearing and you've come to agreement with the applicant and conservation and so forth, then you do 3 basic resolutions. You vote yourself lead agency, you routinely adopt a neg deck almost by rote, and then you approve the plan. What I'm saying here is this may require more than just a pro forma neg deck, because there are issues that I think you have to look into more. And this started with the Foothill Solar Plan, which I've commented on in the past, where you need more environmental impact, and I think you need more review here. I think it's the DEP, I'm sure DEP or the county, that talks about evaluating the loss functions of the trees, the 87 trees. They also talk about the visual impact of the solar rays from the golf course. I'm not saying you need, in this case, a full EAF, but I'm saying that before you do a pro forma neg deck, there are several more issues that you need to look into. And I think those 2 memos identify them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. Anybody else from the public? No? John, anything on your end?
Not at this time.
Counselor?
I believe we do have secret compliance issues to straighten out on this and the next application as well. They're both type 1 actions. Full EAFs have to be submitted, and I think we're going to have to circulate a memo declaring the planning board's intention to serve as lead agency and wait the 30-day period for response before we can take any additional action. Thank you. Is that from me? Thank you.
We also did get a letter from a Mr. Mark Giordano at 1340 Baptist Church Road. Have you had a chance to review that, Counselor?
I have not.
Okay, so we're going to accept that into the record.
This one I saw, but not that one.
Just in case you want some more visuals.
Oh, okay.
If,
All right.
I guess if we may address the comments.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, Chairman, members of the board, did want to just address the tree donation. We really value the support for this project. As Julia mentioned, we're removing 89 trees, only 58 are really viable. We've gone back and forth, we've updated our landscaping. Obviously, that's increased costs onto the project, but we really wanted to do the right thing. And so in addition to planting those new trees and the hundreds of shrubs, we're also doing a one-to-one donation to the tree fund for the full 87, even those are non-viable. So we did want to make sure that that was clear, and we really value that support.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
And, I did want to acknowledge, we did, after receiving the letter from Mr. Giordano, we did submit a response. I'm not sure if that has been received yet. I do have a copy here if you would like it, but we did submit that electronically.
Okay,
I don't know.
maybe get it to town council
Absolutely.
and to, obviously, the planning department.
No, yeah,
We're happy to address it verbally as well if you'd like.
You want to talk about it now?
sure.
Yeah,
Sure,
we can
happy
go
to.
line by line. if you want me to.
There's a, yeah, it's quite long. Many of the comments pertain to our use of the site and the amount of space that we would occupy and the site control that we have. So I have included our memorandum of lease for reference, just to make it perfectly clear. Ecogy has entered into a lease agreement with the owners only for the 11.67 acre parcel that has an address of 1300. And of those acres, we do only have a premises that covers 6 acres. So we're not occupying or disturbing any other areas of the farm, even though the entire farm is 29 acres. We do only have a lease for that sub-portion. So I did include a copy of that in our response, just wanted to make that clear, because I know that that was the majority of the comments was about the area being
Right.
used.
Okay.
That letter was also signed by Patty Peckham, who's the owner of Arcadia Farm. She's here today. She's happy to speak in support of the project, obviously, but that northern portion will remain agricultural. So she intends to fully use it to continue her farm operations.
Okay. Any other comments, concerns from the board?
If I could, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to clarify that the action is a type 1 action because it disrupts more than 2.5 acres of land. And because it's in an agricultural district, it's not the normal 10 acres under SECRA, it's reduced to 2.5. So that's why I think it's a type 1 action. It doesn't really matter how much you lease and how much you're disturbing. If it's over 2.5, it's a type 1 action.
Understood.
Okay. Anything else? So with the comments you noted, does that preclude us from taking any action tonight? Should we hold or?
No, you can, well, you should recirculate the notice of intent to serve as lead agency or circulate it.
Okay.
So we probably should hold the hearing open.
Well, I think we'll recirculate the
The
long
EAF,
EAF, but
once we get
I
it.
think the lead agency is past the time. And if someone objected to the short EAF, they would have said so in their
True.
in the
Sure.
time frame. So I think my recommendation to circulate the long EAF to the interested and involved agencies.
Okay. So
If that,
whenever
if
you
you're in
can get
agreement with
that, yeah, I am. Whenever you can get that to John or Robin, we'll recirculate it. But I think you have to hold the hearing open
Okay.
and adjourn it maybe for, the next planning board meeting's gonna be less than 30 days.
Mid-October, October
Yeah,
18th.
so it would probably have to be adjourned to sometime in November.
Okay, so should I adjourn it or hold it open?
Well, adjourn it.
Either adjourn it so it will be reopened in
Look,
November.
they're laughing at me. All right, so,
Can we close it?
No,
and
it sounds like
hold,
it-
for 7 days, written?
no, they have to recirculate certain things.
Okay.
Can I ask for clarification? It needs to be more than 30 days because it's required to have 30 days to review the full EAF? Is that
Yeah.
the requirement?
Yeah.
Okay, understood.
So that meeting would be, oh, Lord, the 8th?
The 18th.
Right, that's the second Monday.
Talking about November.
No. Yeah, the 18th.
No,
Yeah, November 8th, you're talking about?
yes,
Oh, November 8th.
yeah, November,
Yeah.
not October.
Why do we have to wait so long?
It's a requirement.
It's a timing issue with the minimum 30 days under SECRA, and your next hearing is 28 days away. So we can't continue at the next hearing we've got to wait a full 30 days for everyone to comment on the full EAF.
And that is despite the short form being available for
Yeah.
4 months now?
I mean, the issue is literal compliance with secret. I'm not concerned as much about the substance at this point, but literal compliance is required in New York.
Understood.
So for my clarification, has the long EAF been completed?
No.
No,
We had submitted
short.
a short EAF.
But no one, there was no,
So do we have to wait until the long EAF is delivered and then 30 days?
Right. Well,
Well,
yes.
they can get
Well,
it, they can get it
Get
to
it
us tomorrow.
circulated.
All right.
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
Okay, good.
We'll get it done.
A couple hours worth of work, but
Good.
we gotta cross the Ts and dot the Is. All right, so we're good?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank
Any
you.
other questions, concerns, comments? All right, so I have a motion to move or to adjourn to the November 8th, 2021 meeting.
Motion?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Stay here.
Hope we didn't miss anything on that. Okay, next on the agenda, we have the Kichwan Farm, Solar Farm. This is also a public hearing, location 716 Kichwan Road. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Welcome back.
Thank you. So I have fewer updates on the Kichwan Farm Solar Farm, although I believe just this morning, receive a note from the Tree Commission with a few comments, which we have obviously not had an opportunity to address. I believe most of those comments revolved around the use of native species, so we will certainly get into that with our landscape architect, make sure we're complying the same way we did for the Arcadia project. But just to remind everyone, the Kichwan project is 2.67 megawatts DC, 2 megawatts AC. We will be disturbing approximately 4.25 acres, including the area of trees being removed. The total area of the array is approximately 8 acres. In this case, it is spanning across 2 parcels, but the entire area of the farm is approximately 22 acres. So we are, again, only occupying a portion of the farm. The remainder of the land will be continued to be used for farming purposes. Just to remind everyone, so we have inventoried 168 trees. There are a small number that are non-viable that need to be removed. However, we were made aware by the owners that many of the trees, regardless, are not in great condition. They're in an overgrown, what used to be a nursery, but is now just a very overgrown area. So, regardless, those trees are not in great condition, even though they may still be considered viable from a health standpoint. In terms of the landscaping that we have proposed on site, we did obviously take the board's feedback, comments we received at the previous hearing, as well as feedback from the owners. We are planting 123 trees and 351 shrubs at the moment. The sort of a common standard there is to accept 8 shrubs as a 1 tree equivalent. So if you were to do the math, that would be planting 167 trees for the 168 that we are removing. So that is what the current landscaping plan looks like. I do believe the Tree Commission may have mentioned requesting payment into the tree fund for this project as well. Again, unfortunately, I only received that memorandum a few hours ago. I did not have time to get into it. I will be sure to address those comments before we are in front of you again. And given the comments that were made for the Arcadia project, I do believe we would need to submit the long environmental assessment form for this as well and follow the same schedule for the November 8th meeting. So I expect that is what will happen, but we do welcome any other public comments in the meantime.
Yeah, I would only add, Chairman and members of the planning board, that we really, I'm wearing a strawberry mask this evening because strawberries are one of the best plants to grow under solar panels. We really value solar energy as a way to keep the Kichwan Farms operations going and keep it within their family. They really see it, and they're here today, actually, several members of the Kichwan family, to give support for this project. But we truly think there's a lot of synergy going on with the actual Kichwan farm operations that have been going on for over 100 years. So we really value that. The only other thing I wanted to mention is a lot of letters of support from most of the abutters. We really think the proactive approach of really bringing this to the community has really brought a lot of value to it. And I think it's brought the Kichwan farm closer with their neighbors overall. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any members of the audience want to speak to the application? Hello, Susan.
Hi, I guess you anticipated this. I'm not going to repeat what I said before, and thank you to the applicant for the concern about the tree mitigation. And Jim, thank you for trying to clarify the need for seeker compliance. But I think there's some confusion about the seeker requirements, short form, long form, and then full EAF, EAF being an environmental assessment form. I think what I was saying for Arcadia still applies here, that you need, quote, a full EAF, not on every single issue. Obviously, we're not dealing with archaeological, artifacts, but more detail on the loss function of trees, because we're cutting down on this one a most substantial number of trees, and what's being replaced is not in no way going to replace the function of your lost tree when you're cutting down different sizes. The hydrology may be changing. That has to be looked at. The wildlife habitat has to be looked at. The visual impact. There are many additional areas where I think you need a full EAF, and with planning board can scope out exactly what is needed. So please don't have the applicant come back with the long EAF, which is just check yes or no, and then I have to get up here again and say, yeah, but what about X, Y, and Z? So could you clarify, mostly for the sake of the applicant, and it's very convenient because you're dealing with the same company, what additional information you would like that you feel is necessary to do an adequate environmental review of this. I've just mentioned some of the areas. You might want to add more, but they have to know to put this into the additional full EAF. Do you understand the point
do.
that I'm making?
Does anybody know?
I think you mean expanded EAF.
Expanded EAF.
Full EAF.
Full EAF, yeah.
And the board determines if there's if there's an expanded EAF and what additional studies you'll need from the information gained in the long form or the short form.
Well, that means they come in with their long form, which they're going to come in very shortly. So then they're coming in November, and then in November you're going to have to tell them, well, we need more information about A and B. Could you tell them now, basically, and save them the time so that when they do their long form EAF, that they have that additional information. It saves the applicant time.
And we're certainly not looking to cost them time. So what I would say respectfully is we'll work with our professional staff and look at that and come up with the answers so that they're informed before they have to come back.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Yeah,
Maybe
no,
you'd like to expedite it.
I don't think anybody disagrees.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Jamie Spillane on behalf of Central Line Farm. You've received a letter from me. I'm sure you were all thrilled to get my very wordy letter on this matter. My client is concerned about the application being a neighboring property owner with a equestrian operation going on. Concerned about visuals, concerned about noise. A number of my concerns will likely be addressed by the secret process that is going to take place between now and the next meeting. However, and there's a couple other items that were noted in my letter that I believe have been taken care of, but I haven't gotten a chance to look at them yet. It's my understanding that there is a decommissioning plan that was put together. I haven't gotten to look at it. It is on the board now. It is on the website now. And I believe that a letter in response was submitted by EcoG. I haven't had the opportunity to review it because I just saw it in the agenda packet. So I will review it and reach out to Julie, and we could talk further on that and any issues. One of the main concerns my client has, though, is just the cumulative effect of all of these solar farms that are being proposed in the area. I think that that's something the board might want to take a look at in conjunction with the town board, given that it seems that these applications are becoming more regularly in front of you. You have two on tonight, but it seems that every meeting there is a new one proposed. So I do think that it's something that the board, in conjunction with the town board, may want to take a look at whether or not these regulations have to be tightened to some degree. As is noted, the property is in an agricultural district, and my client's property is also in an agricultural district. And there is a desire to keep that same character and rural nature to the area. So it's something that we would ask that the board take a look at. But I do understand that the secret process will be taking place in the next couple of weeks. So at that time, I'll review any documentation that's put on the website and talk further with the applicant to see if there's any kind of resolution that can be achieved.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? How are you?
Good, how are you? I'm Brian Carroll. I live down at 855 Old Kichwan, which is just around the corner from the farm. I submitted a letter this afternoon to Robin just to support the project, and I'll review copies of that. I'll hand out copies of that momentarily. But I want to just take 2 points here for you, which is that the visual impact of this project is relatively minimal to anybody in the area. If you walk on the trail, the county trail, the TKT trail that's on the outside of the property, and then it joins over to Arcadia Road. I've walked the property many times. It'll be very difficult to see any of these panels from that vista. And also from the road at 134, the map doesn't really show it, but there are some very, very severe S-turns to the east of the corner of the property. So anybody who's not looking at the road is in deep trouble, and many, many cars have gone off the road gazing at this beautiful property. So I would say from 134, nobody should be looking at the farm, the solar farm, and shouldn't be noticing it. But really more equally important is we need the power. You know, you can't see electricity. It's everywhere all the time. Whereas a bridge like the Tappan Zee, I call it the Tappan Zee, you can see it go up and it's there and it's permanent. Indian Point shut down in April this year. We lost a lot of power through that. It's being plugged with a series of natural gas sort of peaking plants that need to fill the void. New York State is obviously very aggressive about building its renewable portfolio and is working very aggressively to permit offshore wind turbine projects that'll take a couple of years. But, you know, in the meantime, we need solar and we need it local. And 25 years is not a permanent change to this property. At the end of 25 years, it'll be decommissioned and we can, you know, who knows where we'll be at that point. So in terms of a use of land, it's not as permanent as many, many other alternatives. And I think the project is very consistent with the town's leadership on community solar. In fact, I'm a member of the community solar activity. I think I'll get a discount from the Arcadia Farm solar rooftop at this point, and we're seeing a lot more of these projects come before the town, and they're taking a leadership role, and I think the project will fit into that very, very nicely. In fact, I think Wednesday night there is a teach-in of some kind about community solar for Yorktown, and this project will certainly fit into that very nicely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. Jim, I'm sure your comments are the same.
Yes.
Hey, I'm sorry. How are you?
Good evening. How are you all? Nice to meet you. My name is Carolyn Cochran, and my family lives on Kichwan Farm, so I'd like to say a few words about how we feel about the solar possibility. I came to live on Kichwan Farm with my husband in the 70s. My husband's grandfather purchased the farm over 100 years ago and later purchased an additional 210 contiguous acres from the family of the former New York City Mayor Fernando Wood, totaling 243 acres. His grandfather and his wife raised their 4 daughters, and 2 of them lived well into their 90s in the same home where we now live. My husband also grew up spending much of his time on the farm, and our 3 children are the 4th generation to live here. In the 50s, the eldest daughter, Elizabeth, realized that it would be impossible to pay the rising taxes on this big piece of property. She was approached by IBM when they were looking for land for the future Watson Center, as you know, is now up on 134 by the Taconic. Not wanting the land to be developed, she eventually donated it to the Brooklyn Botanic Garden for use as a field station. The family were longtime Brooklyn residents going back to the late 1600s when their ancestors arrived from Holland. Her decision to allow the future creation of the Kichwan Preserve, providing a beautiful nature sanctuary to thousands of neighbors near and far. Her legacy will continue as our farm will still remain open space, but also bring renewable energy to our community for years to come. I do believe that our great aunt Elizabeth would have approved of the need for solar in 2021, as well as keeping the original land in the family and free from permanent residential or commercial development. The future will be kept open. The land can be returned to its original uncontaminated state in the future if necessary. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll just follow on that. Caroline is my mom. I'm Lindsay Cochran, also a resident of Kichwan Farm. And my background is in ecology. I studied ecology and biology way back in college. And I'm a lot of experience with organic growing and organic agriculture. I've variously grown organic vegetables, herbs, flowers, and native trees and shrubs on, excuse me, on part of our land for the past 16 years. The solar installation will help us be able to further agriculture here, which is of utmost importance to me as a fourth-generation plant person living on our property, plant-obsessed person. Most recently, for 5 years, we partnered with a forward-thinking and very busy restaurant in Manhattan that grew their own vegetables and herbs on our land to provide a significant portion of their restaurant's need. Unfortunately, due to COVID's impact on restaurants over the past 2 years, they had to cut back and did not continue growing in 2021, but they are hoping to be able to return to grow at Kichwan Farm next season. The solar array will be on about a third of our property, and we have several other open land areas with good soil and good sun exposure where we will be able to grow in the future, we hope. As an organic grower, gardener, and consultant with my own small business in northern Westchester, I have seen the benefit of what are termed pollinator pathways, pesticide-free corridors of native plants that provide nutrition and habitat for very important pollinating species. EcoG is committed to planting a large number of native trees and shrubs for screening and seeding with native perennial flower mix as well around the array, which will improve our fields from their current state. For many years, the fields where the solar panels will be, excuse me, it's been a long time since I've spoken in any state in front of people. Let's see, which will improve the fields from their current state. For years, the fields where the solar panels will be have been pasture that is mowed over and over again pretty much every month, all season long, to keep it as a monoculture of grass for grazing the horses that we have boarded for many, many years. This does not allow beneficial natives to grow and flower. It's just entirely grass. I believe that the solar installation will help us continue to preserve the land that our family has stewarded for over 100 years from further development, while at the same time providing much-needed electricity to our local area and open space for native plants to grow alongside and under and around the array and provide habitat and forage for pollinators. And I just wanted to say I grew up since 1979 on the property, and I've seen many, many large older estates, of which our family's land once was before they donated it to the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, become basically cul-de-sac. There's random farms, which is not a bad thing now, but it was a giant estate that was divided up into many, many cul-de-sacs. And we've actively worked to prevent that sort of thing happening on our land as long as we've worked very, very hard for many years to preserve it as an agricultural use. And it has not worked for us very realistically, but we want to continue to do that, and we feel that the solar is really something that would enable us to move forward while protecting really open space, since the array doesn't it's a passive array, doesn't pollute or anything like that. So thank you for your consideration. And
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
I'm Alex Cochran from Kichwan Farm, and thank you for taking time to hear us all. As you probably all know, farming isn't the easiest thing, and being in Westchester, running a small farming business with taxes and everything, it is extremely difficult. And so combining all these factors of high real estate taxes and cost of goods, it's very much harder to farm in Westchester than it is maybe an hour upstate or something like that. So it has been in our family for 170 years, and the immediate family who's here has been stewards of it for the past 40 years. We have run this horse boarding business as well as organic vegetable, herb, and flower growing, and the New York City restaurant. On top of the never-ending farm work and maintenance of our very old buildings, and some of them pre-revolutionary, my sister and I have both had multiple other part-time jobs. Among them, I've had a snow plowing and landscaping business, as well as worked for Teatown Lake Reservation for 15 years as a land steward. We've always struggled to make ends meet with our horse boarding operation, and now with the loss of the restaurant garden and other income due to COVID, our current course is uncertain. The solar array will not alter the landscape and is not permanent. It'll benefit the future of our family farm, allowing us to continue farming on portions of our land while greatly benefiting the community and the environment. In 2009, we installed rooftop solar on the barn and garage, and since then have produced over 200,000 kilowatts of clean energy. The panels have complemented our south-facing late 1800s barn, bringing the old in with the new, and they've safely and quietly produced electricity for us without a single issue or repair over the last 12 years. So I can confidently speak to the effectiveness of this technology, which has also improved greatly in the past number of years. This decision we have not taken lightly. We have visited several other large-scale installations in the area and given much thought and careful consideration to this system, as it will literally be in our own backyard. We believe the benefits of combining local clean energy production at this time is great, and while maintaining open space and also continuing our farming business is a win-win situation for our family, the heritage farm, and the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? John?
Yes, sir.
Outside the same comments from the last, any concerns, issues?
Well, in terms of the visual, I know that Julia and I had been working, but I think we still have some work to yet complete. And as part of that, I would add just doing some visual studies from some of the properties around to make sure that any of the commentators here tonight, of the people that they represent, that you will not be able to see from those properties. And we're also been working to make sure that you cannot see it from 134. And as Mr. Carroll indicated, I think that it is clear that there is low visual impact from the trailway that's on the old botanical garden property. So those two things I would add as some things that we can work on.
Okay. Anything from the board?
I did want to just add to the records, I did submit this just earlier today, so I'm sure you have not seen it, but this wasn't a letter in response to that received from Jamie Spillane, representing Centerline Farm, so if I could submit this one as well for the record.
Yeah, thank you.
Chairman, members of the board, we also would love an opportunity to just comment on some of the public comments as well.
By all means, that's why we're here.
Awesome. So I'll start, if that's okay, Julie. So I think a lot of this is progress through preservation, right? I think with the first commentator talking about the donation to the tree fund for this project as well, I think we are one of the only applicants to start out with a landscape architect. And I hope throughout this process you'll see that we're trying to do the right thing. So in the case of also donating $100 per tree removed for the Kichwan farm, recall that we're removing 168 trees. We're trying to essentially replant 167. We're willing to put on the record that we're also willing to donate an additional $100 per tree for the $167. We really do want to do the right thing. We genuinely want to screen it, but if a donation to the tree fund makes one public commentator happier, we're willing to do it, obviously. I think on the taxes, that hasn't been talked about that much. In our response letter, we noted that we've actually modeled this project to pay pilot taxes to Yorktown for the full 25 years. We modeled that based on the NYSERDA guidebook for decommissioning for municipalities, which is about $9,000 a megawatt per year with a 2% annual escalator. That totals over $500,000 over the 25-year lifetime, and we're committed to working with the town of Yorktown to finalize that agreement. The cumulative effects point that was brought up, I think is important. I think what Yorktown has done is pass a solar code before other municipalities in Westchester, right? There needs to be, as Brian Carroll mentioned, there needs to be more community solar projects everywhere, right? We have to battle climate change. The Arcadia horse farm, the rooftop project, that was subscribed in less than 2 weeks to 40 households and local businesses in Yorktown, including the alpaca farm across the street. So there definitely is a need for more community solar projects because there's a lot of people in Westchester and there's a lot of people in the city that can also subscribe to these Con Ed projects. The other note I wanted to make to the progress through preservation is this project is not helping a corporate entity like IBM. This project is not helping some big Fortune 500. This is helping a family farm that's been in your town for 100 years. And I think that's an important note, is that it really will help their farm more than many more. It'll also help the productivity of the farm, as the Cochrans mentioned. It'll help low-income households, right? Ecogy is pretty much the only one in the Con Edison utility territory to have low to moderate income households subscribe to our community solar arrays. We're committed to do that with this project as well. That really helps people that are trying to find that next nickel and dime to pay their rent and their utility bill. I mentioned tax revenue and then job creation. Obviously, we partner with Croton Energy Group on the Arcadia horse farm. They're based in Croton, right? They're practically neighbors. But there is a lot of jobs created. You can see Julia and I are right here today. So this is a burgeoning industry, and we really appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a quick question about the tree mitigation and the donation to the tree bank. Are you doing both?
We would like to pursue both. We'd like
Were
to
you asked to do both, or you're volunteering that?
We are volunteering that. There was one public commentator, the first, that asked for a potential tree fund. But again, we really want to do the right thing here.
Anything else from the board?
No.
Nope. John?
Nothing here.
Jim?
Nothing more.
All right, this is one, especially with the farmers. This is personal. These people lived on this property for 170 years, I heard. I mean,
17 years.
117? Thank you. That's just fantastic. And I got to think that there's nothing they're going to do to destroy the legacy of that property. All right? And, you know, the solar, I don't agree with solar everywhere. I think we have to be responsible about it. And I think that's part of the charge. So in respect to the code that the board and the community worked on, I don't think it's a bad code. I think there's opportunity in there for us to do what this board is charged with responsibly. And I think everything we look at here is responsible development. I think this is responsible development. This is my opinion. I have no doubt that these people are going to do the right thing by their community, as they have for 117 years.
I agree.
And I know there's details to get worked out. I'm sure you're going to work them out. I'm sure at the end of the day, it's going to be a win-win for everybody. But, you know, to keep a farm in and not see them at, 25 years, you wink, that'll be gone. You know, I think this is a very appropriate. When you talk about New York State pushing all electric cars, I think by 2030.
35.
All right, 2035. And the way everything's headed, and you don't see Con Edison out there right now improving their infrastructure. Right? You got what you got. So there's going to have to be ways to offset it. I do think Yorktown is kind of leading the charge on this, which I think everybody should be very proud of. But we will work through the details. I'm sure we'll get there. But this is another agenda that we're going to have to move off to November 8th due to the technical end of it. But as one member of this board, I think it's very important that we keep this generational farm in place. And when we went and did the site visit, I walked away from that. I was happy. When you see especially the helicopter crashing, that story. So you got people that have been here for a long time, and I am absolutely certain that they're going to do everything they can to make sure that this is a great project. That being said, I'll be quiet now. Do I have a motion to adjourn this to the November 8th, 2021 meeting?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. Next on the agenda, we have the Bird Bus Sales and Service. This is a public informational hearing. Location's 3805 Compound Road. Do I have a motion to open the public informational hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the
How are
record,
you?
Paul Dumont with JMC. I'm doing well. Hope everybody's well. With me tonight is Robert Reichenbach of Bird Bus and their counsel, Daria Shafazada of Harris Beach. Before you tonight for the public informational hearing on this project, I'll just start by giving a brief overview of the project again for the public. Thank you, Robin.
2 seconds.
So the property is located at 3805 Crampon Road and is about 2.75 acres in size, 2 3/4. The property is bordered by Crampon Road to the north, Garden Lane and the 202 Diner to the west, the Bariatric Group building to the east, and single-family homes to the south. The property is located within the town's C4 commercial zoning district. The applicant is proposing to reoccupy and reutilize the property as a school bus sales dealership, which is a specially permitted use within this zone. In order to support the reoccupation, the front portion of the existing building, which was the dealership portion that as it was used in the past, will be renovated. The facade will be improved and the interior will be fully renovated. The existing building in the rear, which was the garage and service portion of the building, is going to be modified, and the roof is going to be raised to permit school buses to enter the service bays. The access to the property will be maintained. There's currently 2 curb cuts on Crampon Road. They're one-way in, one-way flow, enter and exit curb cuts, and there's also a curb cut on Garden Lane, which will be maintained. We are proposing, Robin, if you could please just switch to the site plan. We're proposing a storage area in the rear of the property, adjacent to the existing building, which will be screened by a landscaped island that we're creating. And in our recent resubmission package, we have detailed the landscaping which will be in that island, which will screen the storage area. We're also detailing on the site plan customer parking in the front of the property and employee parking in the rear of the property as well. With that, I think that summarizes the site plan and the reoccupation. We're happy to answer any questions the board might have or any members of the public. And Robert from Bird Bus is with us as well to address any operational items.
Can you just review again hours of operation?
Sure. Robert, you want to speak to that? Okay.
Good evening, Robert Reichenbach, Bird Bus Sales. We are Bird Bus Sales. We currently operate very similar to a car dealership, but instead of selling cars, we sell school buses. We handle the parts and the service of new vehicles. 99% of our business occurs off-site. The sale of the bus occurs off-site, and we don't do heavy-duty maintenance. We do the light inspections, brake repair, and in order to get these vehicles back on the road for school districts and contract operators. We work very closely with school districts and third-party school bus contractors. You may know right now there is a big shortage in drivers, big shortage in school buses, causing many delays within the industry, children standing on the side of the roads. Most of these operators have buses down. It's our responsibility to keep them up and running, to get them back out to the operator as well. But about 90 to 95% of our business that we do in-house are new vehicle inspections, and we deliver the vehicle out to the customer, and there is not a lot of customer interaction occurring on site.
So, late at night, backup alarms, are there gonna be bus carriers coming in with 10 buses?
No,
Right.
no,
So
yeah.
why don't you talk about that?
So we are not an operator. We don't have hundreds of school buses parked. We don't have hundreds of drivers parking their cars, taking school buses in and out of the lot. If we have 1 or 2 school buses pull into our yard a day, that might be the average, except for when we get new buses in that we prep and deliver for school start and deliver back to the customer. When it comes to operating, we work from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Most of the operations occur between 8 and 3:30, 8 to 4. You may think of backup alarm or a vehicle being very loud. The backup alarm is about 100 decibels or so, and a hairdryer is about 90 decibels, so it's not much louder than a hairdryer. So you can always keep that in mind as well. As Bluebird dealer, we are moving faster than any other manufacturer into the electric space. We will probably be about 11 to 12% of diesel deliveries this year, and we've taken our 1,000th electric bus order already, and I plan on delivering about 50 to 60 electric vehicles next year. That's zero emissions, clean energy, and zero tailpipe sound, so you don't hear an engine revving. So the noise from an electric vehicle, not only is it decreasing the pollutants in the air, but it's also it's not very loud.
One of the reasons we ask about the backup alarms and the time is there is a residential area around there, and there was another application that came in that does a lot of night work, and the issue came up about noise. It was very, I think it was a concern of the board, and it ended up playing out. So that's why I bring that up,
Right.
so that because there are, residential.
We don't operate at night. We're not a 24-hour. Like I mentioned, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. is our operational hours. I'll be honest, our mechanics will probably get there 6:45 in the morning, but they're not touching the bus until 7 o'clock until they clock in, and 4 o'clock they're out the door.
Yeah, at 6 o'clock in the morning, that road's already buzzing. So I don't
Right.
think they're-
I will say, doing paperwork, admin work, that might go later, but that's interior admin work in the sales office. That's not a late.
So no one's going to be delivering buses at 1 o'clock in the morning.
No, when we do deliveries, vehicles leave our yard between that 8 and 9 p.m. Usually after the rush hour, the morning rush. Vehicles will leave our yard if we're going to deliver a vehicle, and then if a vehicle is coming in, we do ask them to be in by that 2:30, 3 o'clock time frame to allow that the extra traffic when school is released, and not clogging up the roads of traffic for the rush hour traffic.
Great. All right, thank you. Anybody else from your group? Anybody from the public here on the application? Come on up. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Good evening, gentlemen, ladies.
Just name?
My name's George Campolo. I live on Old Crampon Road to the east of Garden Lane. And you just mentioned another project where there were a lot of difficulties, and while it's improved, we are still living with that, which I don't want to usurp the topic here. We want to express some concerns about this project. We welcome them. We think it'll be a great improvement versus looking at what's there now.
Yep.
Good relief for the property owner to finally have a tenant. But, we are concerned about the time of operation, the exhaust from diesel buses, potentially, the backup alarms you mentioned, late night deliveries, which it sounds like won't be a problem. And I just want to mention one thing that Mr. Tegeta said about the project on Strang, talking about a limit of 11 o'clock. With that other project, we still have trucks out there 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning with engines running for prolonged periods of time.
Which
This is Nestle's.
Okay.
We're the group that's been complaining.
Understood.
Part of the group. that's been complaining. And it has improved, but there are still things there that we feel should not be allowed.
Okay.
So we actually had an attorney, and he's been talking to Adam Rodriguez, Mr. Slater. We've been trying to get a meeting.
Yep.
It hasn't happened.
Okay.
So I didn't want to take the time here
Yeah,
because I
this
know
is
it's
a
not on your
separate-
agenda.
right.
But if I could pick up maybe with Ms. Steinberg, that we could follow up and actually have a meeting and express our concerns in person, that would be terrific.
Yeah, about this or about the other application?
About Nestle's.
All right, so I would say that's separate.
Right.
But I think your concerns that you have about Nestle's, I think have been vetted out with this applicant as we started this process, because we
Right.
don't,
Yeah,
clearly.
we liked what we heard
Yeah,
here.
and I think this is a very different application.
Right.
But on the other one, I would set up, a separate time to talk about that.
If we could, it would be great.
Yeah.
And the only other thing I didn't mention with these fellows here that we're concerned about is bright lights pointed at us.
Yep, we have the same concern.
So that's basically it. John, Noel?
You said it all.
Yeah, we set it all. Basically, we're looking at, we don't want to see what happens here, what happened to Nestle.
You got to talk into the mic.
Step
I
up.
live
You
behind.
got to step up,
Oh, I'm
please.
sorry, I
And-
live
and your
behind
name too,
Nestle.
sir.
And I think that,
Just your name for the record?
John First on Old Compound Road, we're neighbors. The whole, I think the planning or the site approval on a commercial property with residential property nearby, you should inform the residential people, give them more information on what's taking place. That's what happened to Nestle's. We're now stuck with this high-intensity lighting. Abatement of noise is not coming about. And right now, we don't have a problem that much with lighting. The leaves are out there. Come fall, the leaves go away. Winter comes, we're going to be concerned with it. I can right now, looking at this property that's being looked at, I could see the Cortland Diner, all right, or the diner, Compound Diner. I can see them on 202, and they're on. I know they close at 11 p.m., the lights go out. They extend it to 12 p.m., the lights go on. I can see these lights, especially in the wintertime, and I have the same problem with Nestle, and I'm afraid we may get the same problem with this facility that they're looking at. They're going to need security. They put in intense lighting, and it affects the neighborhood. We're on residential. We're right on residential, and you should be considering that. You should take a look at it more and be our concern. I've been there since 1968. Never had a problem. We had Verizon there. They complied. Right now, these other people came in. They have approval, and we're trying to correct this. It's affecting us. It affects my neighbors. It's hard for us to get together with this pandemic. We can't talk to the people. We can't meet. We'd have a whole bunch of people in here. But right now, everybody's concerned with masks and all.
Yeah, and we share your concerns, and we
Okay.
appreciate your comments. So some of the issues that we've had with other applications, we're going to, trust me, we're going to make sure that we don't have the same repeat. But with the notification of neighbors, this is a public informational hearing. So notice does go out. It's a unique requirement in Yorktown. It kind of preps people for what's coming up. So this is the first step. They also have to have a public hearing after this. So there's another step. In the meantime, the questions that you've asked are the same types of questions that we're looking at. So if that helps.
Only our neighbor, Mr. Kasaji at 3800 got the letter. None of us got the letter about this.
Well, if
He didn't give it to me, we would not have known about it.
It's, the requirement is for adjacent abutting property owners only, yeah, so.
Just to point out, and I'll leave you alone, all the greenery, most of the greenery, separating us from Nestle, separating us from this property, stopping us from having a view of the diner, it's all seasonal. All those leaves are gonna be gone in about 5 weeks. And I hope we could pick up the ball on Nestle's at some point at an appropriate time.
Yeah, that I would talk with them offline.
Okay?
All right?
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thanks for your comments.
I'll send you an email.
Yeah.
In regards to their comments, we do believe this property is an image of our company. We are the most trusted dealership in New York. We have a facility down in Plainview on Long Island, in which we did a full renovation as well. It's a 2-acre property. And when it comes to lighting, there's not a lot of after 5 p.m. there's no one at our property, like I mentioned earlier. And when it comes to lighting, we'll take the planning board's advisement.
Not to jump in, but two very different applications.
I understand that. I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
we are more of a sales dealership than we are a service facility.
Yep.
And that's why we're making.
And I think we've heard that. We've talked about the landscape architect, which is, architecture is important. It's just a different type of architecture.
Right.
And we're very sensitive to that. I think as a board, we've been very consistent with that. Certain projects have come through, and obviously, after they get approved, you hear some feedback.
Right.
And we're sensitive to that. So as these applications come in, we're going to make sure that we tweak any issues that we've had in the past.
Okay.
But very different applications.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else from the audience? You got anything to add? Thank you. Have a good night.
So just to give the board an update, so we're working with Robert's architectural team on the architectural drawings. We hope to formally submit those at the end of this week so that we may go before the ABACA and discuss the building with them. But we would ask you to consider setting the public hearing on this matter so we could move the project forward.
You going to be ready for that?
I think so.
Okay, so lighting, obviously you got to work with John and Robin.
Need a lighting plan.
Okay, so Robert, correct me if I'm wrong. Right now, there's no plans to change the lighting on the property. They'd like to maintain the existing lighting.
We want to make sure what's there, and
Okay.
obviously Kia was going to go in.
Yeah.
We want to make sure everything's compliant.
So
Okay.
whatever is there that is not compliant needs to be changed, which
Okay.
means just a fixture change, not necessarily, the pole or anything like that. So just so long that you don't see the source of light, and we're also interested in the intensity and the color temperature of the lights as well. So, but in terms of there's a light here, it's just a matter of possibly a new fixture, so it's all downward focused.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, we can
I
work
think
to-
we're certain that as you come in, everything's going to be done appropriately. Just keep the planning department in the loop on everything, because you don't want to get to that point and not be ready.
Certainly.
So does the board have an issue with setting a public hearing?
No.
No.
Robin?
Can we set it up for the 18th?
18th?
There you go.
Okay.
All right? Again, I just make sure
Understand.
T's crossed,
We
I's
appreciate
dotted.
it, and we'll work to get the details of the lighting worked out.
Okay. You guys get flooded in Elmsford?
We got some water yet.
Yeah, I bet.
So we drove by this property. There was no water there.
No,
So
it's high and dry.
We're very happy with that.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else to add? Do I have a motion to close the public informational hearing?
Motion. Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
We're going to take a 10-minute break before we go into the work session. Do I have a motion to close the regular portion of the meeting?
Mr. Chairman,
sorry.
did you want to vote to set a public hearing for the 18th?
Yes, Do I have a motion to set the public hearing for the 18th of November?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Counselor.
Thank you very much.
Good night, guys. Yeah, never mind that before. We're back.
Are you back? Wait, he's taking-
You want to take a break?
Where's
No.
everybody?
All right.
Thought we were.
Well, I was yielding to the,
That's fine.
I'm sorry.
don't be sorry.
My mistake.
Oh, boy, it's always something here. All right, so we're back, and first on the agenda is 650 Pines Ridge Road. This is a discussion of a subdivision. Location is the same as the title. You're up.
My other job. All right, so it's been a while since we were back here. I wanted to give you an update on things. Mostly we were trying to work out the responses to the DEP requests that they had given us. The main thing was that the septic system needed a 100-foot setback from the stormwater infiltrators. So in order to move that, we had to move the septic drainage fields apart, and because we had to do that, we ended up having to redo the tree survey, and there was an additional 8 trees that are going to have to come down. So now the total of trees is 96 that'll be removed. We have heard from the Conservation Board, and they're going to go back and review this on Wednesday with us. One of the other issues from the letter from the DP was that they were concerned about the runoff from impervious surfaces, so we've switched those over to pervious asphalt, and hopefully that should help out with that. They also weren't clear on the plans whether they were above the 2-acre threshold, and we are still well within that at 1.65 acres of disturbance. So other than that, we mostly addressed everything that the DEP was concerned about, and wanted to get back in the queue with you guys and move forward from there.
Okay. John?
Will DEP, did they issue a memo?
No,
Yeah.
we are in the process of writing a response letter to them. We haven't heard back from them yet.
Okay.
Jim?
Nothing from me.
Members of the board?
Nope.
Is
Nope.
Dan still here, or he's gone?
I don't know where he went.
So I guess once they meet with the Conservation Board and we get something back from DEP,
Yeah.
hopefully, I mean, sooner than later, then we just get you back and fix up the mitigation that's required pursuant to what the Conservation Board has to say, and get an understanding of where DEP is, whether they feel it's ready to go forward.
Okay.
And you're in front of Conservation this Wednesday?
This Wednesday, yes.
Okay, good.
All right. That will get recirculated to the Tree Advisory Board as well, or?
Yeah.
Okay. All
Any
right.
questions from the board? Okay, thank you very much.
Have a good night.
You too, be well. Okay, next on the agenda, we have Taco Bell in Mohegan Lake. This is a discussion of site plan, location is 3571 Mohegan Avenue.
Just left.
Well, they left.
Took a break.
There he is.
Oh,
Oh, he's back.
I'm sorry, we already passed by you. 5 minutes too late. You're on.
He's kidding, he's kidding.
Good to see you again.
Yes. For the record, Paul Dumont, JMC, here on behalf of Keystone Mohegan Lake LLC. Since we were last before you, we have revised our plan set, and we have increased the width of the bypass lane, as we had discussed at the last meeting with the gentleman from Sam Schwartz. Now the drive-through lane at its entrance and around the bend around the building is a full 18 feet in width. And we've also, at the request of Sam Schwartz, we've run a turning analysis of a passenger vehicle circulating the drive-through while the drive-through queue is full, which could be accommodated with the increased width. Also, we carried the changes through the set, and we also updated our stormwater pollution prevention plan to account for that additional impervious area. Although slight, we did account for it. And at this time, we're happy to answer any questions that you may have. We did receive another letter from Sam Schwartz, who indicated that they were satisfied with the revised plans and revised width. One thing to note as well, we had discussed at the end of the last meeting some coordination with the DOT at the Mohegan Avenue intersection with Route 6. A couple things were discussed. One item that was mentioned was a possible relocation of the stop bar. That's very far set back. That's right in front of the Audi site. We were able to discuss this on the phone with the regional traffic signal engineer at the DOT. There is a separation requirement from the signal head. And Robin, if you could just pull up the aerial. It was the first. Oh, that's okay.
Oh, I didn't open it.
That's okay. There's a separation requirement from the signal head. And what we had proposed to them was that there's two signal heads that face that approach. And what we had said to the DOT was, you know, we might not meet the distance, the separation requirement on the first signal head, but would you allow us to move it up if we met the distance on the second signal head? And they told us no.
Really?
So it won't meet the distance requirement, and they will not permit the stop bar to be relocated.
So it stays where it is?
It stays where it is.
Okay. Well, thank you for looking
and
at that.
then the second item that we discussed with her was the left turn from Route 6 onto Mohegan Avenue. That's currently a protected permitted movement. There is a green arrow that runs concurrently with the green light for the through movements. What we were asked to look at was making that a protected only operation, which would be a green arrow would allow the left turning movements, but once the green arrow went red, no left turns would be permitted, even while the through movements were still occurring. And the state is going to be discussing that internally. The feedback that we received was that the crash history, the accident history, likely would not warrant that, but they would look into it. So we are waiting on a response for that, and we'll obviously keep the planning department and your board updated as we hear anything. So at this time, there is a draft resolution before you and a draft neg deck. We've reviewed the language. We don't have any issue with the DOT coordination language that's in the resolution. There is one item, there's something that talks about the submission of a final stormwater pollution prevention plan, which I was just a little confused about because we did just submit, a full updated final stormwater pollution prevention plan. But that was the only comment that we had on the resolution.
Okay.
So that typically needs to be accepted by the town engineer. So once he does that, then it's approved by the planning board. So that's a typical, part of the boilerplate. So.
Okay. So
usually that happens after the fact.
Okay.
But if that happens prior to, then, if the resolution takes place at a later date, that could be done, removed and approved concurrently.
Okay.
In terms of stormwater.
Yep. Understood. So we can coordinate with Mr. Ciarcia and have that all reviewed and looked at.
Okay. Jim?
Nothing else.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. So you have a chain link fence on the western portion of the property between your applicant or your client and the church?
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make the board aware that there's chain link fence proposed. I don't know if you want something to dress that up or you want a different material or what. What's the purpose of it?
It was to buffer the two properties, to provide some screening, between the church property and the Taco Bell. And I believe we were proposing privacy slats, but I'll have to check that.
Yeah, I think this board historically has not been a fan of chain link fence.
Mm-hmm.
obviously we understand the need or the want to separate, property uses, but, we've always, especially in that area, we're very sensitive to the way everything appears, and you've had other applications seen the same thing. So I think maybe a different treatment would be warranted there.
Okay. And I believe we originally proposed it at the request of the church. We do also have screening plantings that run parallel to that property line.
Yeah.
Do I have the landscaping plan in my set?
If you don't, I do.
It's like the very, very last page in the PDF. Right, so right now we have a row of screening plantings and the chain link fence. I'm not sure what the board would prefer.
How tall's the fence?
6 feet.
Would be interesting to know if it was at the request of the church.
No, it was.
It was.
They asked for it.
Yeah, they wanted a fence, but did they?
No, they didn't
specifically say
specify
chain
what
link?
kind
Yeah.
of fence, no.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, so I think maybe something.
Split rail.
Yes, it's probably something more appropriate.
Would the board like a PVC privacy fence or better, or something with the the vinyl finish?
I think that's more attractive.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think, the church is not an industrial type site.
No.
So I think it would be more fitting for
Okay.
that as well.
Okay.
That's my
I would agree.
sense of it.
Any thoughts?
Fine.
Anything else on
The
your
only
end?
other question I have is on the lighting.
Oh, yeah.
So you have the somewhat like a gooseneck fixture for the building
Mhm.
lights, and I noticed that the lamp appears to be visible. In other words, it hangs below the shade. What type of fixture is that? Is that more of a decorative fixture?
Yeah,
looks
it's
like?
more of a decorative fixture. It's part of it was actually something that the architect had designed for the building.
So it has a soft.
It's a very
color.
soft, yeah, it's a
Yellow,
very
okay.
soft, like incandescent.
On the other hand, the typical fixtures appear as though they come in the 4000K or the 5000K only. Is that
Okay.
the only choices?
I'm not sure, but
Okay.
yeah, if that's on the cut sheet.
Okay, so 4000K I think is what my recommendation is. I wouldn't go higher than that. That's a little on the brighter and hotter side, but definitely not a 5000K. So if that can be done and become part of the approval, that's what my recommendation would be.
Okay, we have no objection to that.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Oh, okay. Anything from the board?
The question is, do we have a resolution pending?
We do. They've reviewed it. I think if we, with the comments noted,
Can we act on the resolution now?
I think you can. I would recommend that you add those as specific
No.
conditions for modifications to the plan that's been submitted.
yeah.
And I think we can leave the language about the SWIP because it is it's boilerplate and it works itself out in either case. I mean, if it's acceptable in its present state to the town engineer, he will indicate that, and it's no harm, no foul. It just makes sure that a final SWIP gets to this board with the engineer's sign off and is approved by them.
Okay, understood.
You all right with all that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, then, do I have a motion to go into special session?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do I have a motion to declare this board the lead agency?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have in front of us a neg deck. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And we have a resolution as amended, approving the site plan, special use permit for a drive-through and stormwater pollution prevention plan for the Mohegan Lake Taco Bell. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Do I have a motion? Good? Do we have a motion to close the special session?
Motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It's a race. Okay, we're back in the work session.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
you.
Take care.
Thank you for working with us. All right, next on the agenda, we have the Boniello Equity Subdivision. This is a pre-preliminary discussion. Location is 2012 through 2016 Compound Road. How are you?
Good evening. How you doing? Gus Boniello. We own a site on Compound Road. Right now, there are three, it's an R2 zone. Right now, there are 3 existing 2-family homes. We own all of them, we rent them. What we're looking to do is subdivide for 2 additional 2-family homes off the existing road, the existing private road. And I just wanted to kind of gauge the board's, well, what they think of the project before we put too much into it.
Gus, you want to talk a little bit about the original approval that goes
Original-
back?
Original
Had-
approval goes back longer than I like to think. I was a lot younger. 1991 was the original approval for 14 individual homes, cottage-type houses. Property ended up in the sewer moratorium for 20-plus years or thereabouts. So it just kind of stood there with the approval. Before the moratorium was lifted, we decided we always had 3 individual lots, and one way to do something with the property was do the 2-family houses. So we, over the years, the last 8-10 years, we've done the 3 buildings, and now we're just looking to utilize the remainder of the property. Same way, same structures. We've been very happy with them. They're nice little units, they rent well, and they look good. But,
I got to get familiar with this. I'll take it right out.
What's the landmarks?
this is going towards Peekskill before the police and courthouse, going down the hill on the right-hand side.
Oh.
You familiar with
Kibbe's
it?
old place? Past Kibbe's old
Yeah.
place?
No.
No.
No, before.
Other direction, right?
If you're leaving from here,
Past Friars Nursery.
past Friars Nursery, you go down the hill, and as you cross, before you cross the stream at the very bottom of
Yep.
the hill, it's on the right-hand side.
Okay, I got it.
If
So
you
there are two
cross the
houses
stream, you're going
Close together,
Yes.
close together.
right there? Okay.
Yep.
There was an old structure on it, and about
That's
7,
right.
8 years ago, maybe 10,
Someone's gonna have here.
it was taken down and redone into a similar style home, but now a duplex, and then there was another one that was built next to it.
I know what
Yeah.
it is.
So we built the 3 over the years, and again, we're just looking to finish out the project.
Was
Not
there
the
a-
14 original units, but then again, things change.
The road remains private?
Is private.
Is that something that causes any concern? I'm just wondering.
Well, you'll have to look at it for its width and safety and
Yeah.
those aspects, but that will come after you start your review.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't been out there yet. I don't recall the
Yeah,
condition.
I got to take it right out.
Is that Fountain Gate Road? Is that the private road?
Yes. Well, there's a bunch of there's fountain, one's Fountain Gate, one's Fountain Court.
Well,
Just east of us, I guess, up the hill a little bit, is Fountain Gate something. This private road used to be called Fountain Gate Court or Drive or something of that nature, I forget.
All right, so
It's a 16-foot paved, 16-foot plus paved driveway. And, We feel very confident. It's it's very safe, very, it was done right. Again, we're just looking for the two additional buildings.
So your sewer connection is
That sewer, we have
I
water.
don't think this.
in the,
it's
is
gonna
the
take a ride
sewer
out.
in the private road?
Yes.
Good looking
So you just got to tap
Huh?
it.
They're good
He
looking
already
houses.
has
Yeah.
Permits.
Yeah,
yeah,
you know
the-
where they are.
whatever, the lead is.
Oh, all right. How far back
The
does that
double-
road go?
The two-family houses,
Goes right to the
great,
end.
good landscaping, you know.
Yeah.
This is what you see on the plan.
All right.
All right, so is that the end of your property?
Yes, that's the end of our property, and it has access for our neighbor.
Okay. Is there another road it could
It's
connect
there
into?
forever. Do you remember the name?
Is there another road it could connect into?
No,
No. So it would just have a cul-de-sac or be?
it's just service in the driveways.
And you built the houses we just looked at?
I'm sorry, say again?
The houses that we just, those are your,
It's these homes, right?
Yes.
that's very nice.
Yes.
Nice job.
Yeah, very nice. All right, so I don't think there's any immediate concerns.
You know, if the board it seems like you're in favor of it, we'll continue, get the engineering stuff
I
done,
would continue.
and we'll be back.
Okay,
That's what, okay.
Okay.
sounds like a
That's what we're
plan.
looking for.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
all right,
Appreciate
have a
it.
good night. Thanks for your time.
Just a little thing, the first approval, I was in this room, it was the night the bombers went over Baghdad on the first Gulf War.
Really?
That night, we got our approval, I'll never forget it.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, good
Take
night.
care.
Take care.
Let's not have that happen, yeah.
That's, you don't forget that. Okay, next on the agenda is 3666 Old Yorktown Road. This is a discussion of a fence. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Good evening. Good evening. So I am the property owner of 366 Old Yorktown Road. It's commercial and residential property. Right now, there's a 4-foot like farm fence that runs through the front of the whole property with 3 driveway entrances. So I'm asking the town for a variance because of, I guess you read the letter that I gave you. There's been numerous accidents at Barger and 132. They just speed and fly by. I can't even get in my driveway with someone being on my tail, almost hitting into me or backing out. The property's kind of hidden, so they don't realize that it's there. So for many years, there was a gentleman that owned it, and I guess it was full with
Geese.
yes, geese and trees, and we're trying to clean it up. So there is a fence, but I have a handicapped mother. I also put in a request to the Department of Transportation because that road, and I understand it's a main road, but there's no stop signs, there's nothing to slow the flow of traffic once you get off the Taconic. There's been numerous accidents. They hit into a telephone pole last year, brought the electric down. I was out of power for 10 days. People fly by, they come onto my property to back up or a wrong turn. They come fishing on my property.
Really?
Yes, there's a fishing app, and it says because my pond is Barger Pond, and they come fishing and they catch fish, so that's nice. So I'm gonna have to start charging them. But so we just want to beautify the property. We want to put up a 6-foot fence, a PVC, plastic fence, and open it with a gate, so it's easy access. So where the car pulls in and then the fence will open because I don't want to stop with the traffic flow. But there's a lot of issues. People throw garbage over my fence. Like I said, they pull in and they get lost. I have to give directions. And there's no sign, safety. There's not even a hidden driveway sign. And I've requested that too. I did call the Department of Transportation in Poughkeepsie, I believe it is, and asked to put some safety measures there because my mother is on a scooter and she would like to go to the little, whatever, sidewalk, the library, and she can't get across without somebody's going to hit her and kill her. So that's why if I put the fence there, it's also private. People are looking at all my property and coming in, so I want it for safety, privacy, and to keep guests off my property and debris from the ongoing traffic back and forth and from intruders. So that's why I'm asking to just go up another 2 feet on the fence and to put it basically where it is. If I have to move it in a little bit, it's not a problem. But there's all trees aligning the front, so that's pretty much it.
Hey.
So I have a question. I know this came to us from the building department.
Yeah.
As for guidance as to the height. I'm not as concerned with the height differential between the 4 and the 6. On your plans, can you tell, you have 2 gates, am I right? 2 or 3?
3 entrances.
3
but
entrances.
Only 1 gate right now, but it's broken. So
you're proposing how many gated entrances?
I'm going to do two gates, maybe 3, but I think 2, and I might close up something. I don't know, because it's 2. They're right on top of us. When you as soon as they get off the Taconic and go over that bridge, they're right over, and I can't even get that first driveway there that you see is very dangerous.
So how far back from the road pavement is the gate itself?
It's right on the main road. So, but what I'm thinking of doing is to pull the car in, put some kind of pillars or something to pull in and then have the gate open, because I can't open the gate on the main road, obviously.
Right.
I'm a
that
contractor.
was a concern. That was a concern that we had.
Yeah, that's what I had said. And just, cover the property so people can't just go in and out of my property. And it's really dangerous there. My cat was killed crossing there. A lot of accidents, and that's the only bad thing about it. Other than that, I love it. So
what are we reporting back to the building department
Sorry.
on this, or
How does it work?
What's the sorry? What is it? I'm sorry.
our response is going back to the building department, or
Well, the building department will issue a permit for the fence, but there's no height limitation in the commercial zone, which this is. So you are involved in
Okay. So we could
accepting the height of the fence and the layout of the fence.
Is there a setback from the property line where the fence is supposed to be? Is there a distance that's supposed to be set up back? It could be right on the property line.
I basically want to put it right where it is, like where the old fence was grandfathered, and I just want to rip that out and put a new fence.
Right, the fence is, but of course, what Aaron was bringing up is, the safety issue of where the gates are.
Yeah.
And they need to be set back in
Yeah, you would
opinion,
pull in
your opinion,
first,
yes.
yeah, and then the gate will open
So-
on my property, because I can't put a gate right on the main road.
So I
It's not
think
gonna work.
I think you need to establish from your property line and/or from the edge of the pavement of the roadway,
Mhm.
what the dimension to the gate will be, which will need to be deep enough to have, a long car or small van
Right,
truck
yes, yeah,
fit in there and be fully off the road until either
Exactly.
they call into you and you open the gate, or you press the button and the gate
Right,
opens. So
yes,
that
I
needs to be
understand that.
established by you.
Yes.
There's another part of that too and that is a New York State road.
Mhm.
I think the speed limit's 40 miles an hour. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
If you're pulling in and you have a solid PVC 6-foot fence at the property line, you have no sight distance. So when you
I do. What do you mean?
Not if-
When you're
if
coming
you-
off the
if you're-
road, that
if you're-
entranceway.
If you're pulling up,
Mhm.
right now, you could see, right?
Mhm.
So a car traveling 40 miles an hour coming around that turn, and you're inching out because you're going to have a 6-foot solid fence on the property line. You're not going to see the oncoming traffic. That is my concern.
Right now, I don't see it because of the bushes and stuff, so I had to clear all that. But
yeah,
I was going to
that's-
set it back a little bit.
That's the problem. The sight distance issue is what I'm concerned about.
It's a good point.
Because if you can't see, and I live not too far from there, and I know exactly what you're talking about, because I walk there, and the trail is right there. John Flynn knows that trail. You're going to be taking your life into your hands every time you leave that driveway, because you are not going to see anybody coming. And you got a car going 40 miles an hour, they can't see you as much as you can't see them.
Mhm.
So I think we should ask the town engineer to take a look at that.
Sight distance?
Yeah, and especially on that How old's the home?
1947.
So it was a different day when that was built. Things have obviously changed. The parkway's, gotten a lot busier. I think all that we understand. I just don't want you to create what you have as a hazard, make it worse.
I understand that, and that's why I wanted to pull it in and then have the front cleared out, but I understand what you're talking about, the sight line.
Yeah, I mean, think about that, because your property line's right along that rail,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So if you put a 6-foot fence there, right, you only have a few feet, so you're gonna have to nose out.
That's what I do now.
Well, but that's where,
Yeah. So-
you're gonna make possibly a bad situation worse.
Well, that's where I'm asking for safety measures on that road, a stop sign, a blinking stop line, a little slower, at the end of where the pond is, it's a more broader, so you
Yeah.
can see better. So I could pull out of there, it's not a problem, because I have, it's quick to the road and it's there.
We're going to be,
It's that piece that I see that would be questionable, but like that first part, that I'm gonna close up. I'm not making that an entrance. I wanna just seal that.
I hear you. When you put up a fence like that, it's a physical barrier, as much as they can't see you, you can't see them.
Right.
So we're gonna have the engineer come pay a
Okay.
visit.
Yeah.
But we don't wanna create a hazard, we understand what you're saying,
Mhm.
and I don't think anybody really.
I agree.
disputes it.
Right.
I think you gotta make sure that,
Yeah, I understand that. It's just another hazard too with the people coming on my property,
Yeah,
pulling
that's
into my
crazy.
driveway, and then throwing stuff over my fence,
No, it's
needles and stuff, so
terrible.
there's a lot of hazards there.
we
So-
hear that.
I don't think anyone doubts the need that you're
Yeah, that I-
expressing,
I
we
need to
certainly understand.
we
that.
don't
Secure
wanna-
my property, yeah, but yeah, bring somebody, if they could offer a different
Yeah,
suggestion,
we'll have-
that's fine.
We'll
you
ask the town engineer to come out.
know. Okay.
Is Lascala the one that's been fishing on your property? It's him.
I
Okay.
just don't want people fishing there anymore.
No, listen.
I have to start charging.
Yeah.
I got a question. Is there a line of sight ordinance whenever we view anything, like if we come to an intersection, do we have a line of sight that we have to obey?
There's line of sight guidance, not in our ordinance, but there is line of sight guidance, so, Dan will follow.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So whatever.
For a certain amount of speed, it has to be a certain amount of feet to be able
Right.
to stay,
Right.
yeah.
And that's the state road, which we don't have any real governance over.
Right, and you see that entrance over there?
Yeah.
That you have more area to pull in.
And we'll
But
need to
that's the fork in the road. That's where there's nothing there. There's no
Oh, yeah,
stop
yeah.
sign, there's no speed bump, obviously. There's no caution, there's nothing. So it's something really needs to be put there. It should have been there a long time ago, but like I said, that's a danger. And I have a mother that's she wants to get out and she can't, she's afraid to cross the road.
We've had, issues with East Main Street, and part of the reason that, I've had concerns, I think this board is, outside of, since they put the stop sign locations in front of Lakeland Liquor, in front of the lumber yard,
Yes.
there was no, you could take a straight shot from Route 6
Exactly.
and get onto the Con,
Right.
past your place.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we all understand that, we're sensitive to that, we just don't want to make a bad condition worse.
Right.
All right, so Dan Ciarcia, we'll get him to meet you out there and take a look at what's going on.
Okay, so someone will
Okay?
call me, or how does that work?
Any thoughts on that? Do we have?
It would probably be best if she called the town engineer and
Yeah,
made an
I would
appointment
get a
for him to
hold of
come
Dan
out
Ciarcia.
at your
He's usually here,
What's his name?
Dan Ciarcia.
Dan CRC?
Email us, we'll connect you.
Okay, sounds good.
All right?
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Thank you
Have a
very
good
much.
night.
Thank you.
Be well. Okay, next we have 3 town board referrals. The first one is Lexington Avenue and Storage Road, East Main Street and Broad Street. This is a description of Con Edison and SWIP wetland permit applications to do gas main upgrades and replacements.
Has anybody seen the town board, the last meeting when they made the presentation?
No.
No.
Incredible. Whatever they're doing, they're burying the lines, and I think they need it. And then the next one is the electric.
Well, they're redoing the gas lines. They're making the gas lines, taking out the old metal
Yeah, that's 'cause it's
lines and
flooding.
putting in plastic.
Plastic, it's all over the,
And
it's
in-
everywhere.
The only thing that struck, I have no real planning issues with any of these. I don't think anyone does. But the only thing that struck me as interesting is that they're doing the they're burying the lines over on Foothill Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if it was related to the,
What's going on?
the project or not.
Well, they would have to hook into that line anyhow.
I know. I know.
Whatever they're doing, they're gonna have to open it up again.
Yeah.
That'd be 2 years. from
Well,
now.
no, they're putting a couple of pads out, probably to get into them,
Yeah,
so.
So are there any planning issues for the three that are in
Didn't
front of
see
us?
any.
I don't see anything.
You see anything?
No, I don't see anything with the gas. I'm looking at the,
Like to
Electric,
get
they showed
gas.
pictures of these
Electric.
trees that knocked, that they wanna cut because the trees were knocking down the,
Oh, yeah,
wires.
oh, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
this
well,
is
that's the
being
other
done in the streets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all of that seems similar to, it's really cut and cover, so, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see any,
Is this what they did on Gomer Street?
yeah,
Okay.
All right, so memos, no planning objections?
that which, yep.
Okay. Any issues?
You wanna ask Dan further about?
Oh, here he is.
We referred you a matter in your absence.
Yeah, I think our concern is that we make a bad condition worse as you pull out of a driveway. It just sounds like you want to put the fence right in the road.
I heard the conversation.
Okay, all right. Okay. Anything else?
None.
Do we want to stay here another hour? Just, no? All right, do we have a motion to close the meeting?
Did we do the solar law?
Yeah, there's no issues.
No issues, okay.
No
Motion
plan.
to close.
Second.
All those in favor?
Oh.
All set. Thank you very much. Good night. Thank you, Tom.